So that was me trying to get back into the swing of things. Hi, I'm Sock Marionette, doing business as Bargain Counter Argument, and I'm a middle-aged lady in a tiara, talking about books, libraries, and related content. I'm a little out of practice. I haven't filmed a video in a couple of weeks. I've done some lives, but I have not actually filmed a video. I had, it's been 3 weeks ago that I had a really, really bad migraine. It took me a surprisingly long time to get over it, and as I was kind of resuming normal activities, I was prioritizing in real life stuff, and so I haven't done any recorded videos. I haven't done any recorded content, and so I haven't really taken many pictures for Instagram, where I am Bargain Counter Argument. I pair books with scented candles and photograph the results. Anyway, but I haven't done that too much either because I've had to prioritize other things as I recover. And it really has taken me a long time to get my mojo back. So now I'm ready to do a book unhaul, and that's what I call my library returns videos, of which I have done many. This should be in a playlist for them, so you can check that out. And these are not in any particular order. In fact, they're kind of scattered around my feet in ways that are not necessarily easy to reach. There's going to be some awkward edits in here, I think. Okay, so first up we have one that's left over from May when I participated in the Ever After-a-thon, which I was reading a lot of time travel romances, and I still have this book out from the library because it's not due yet. And because I was thinking I would take an Instagram picture of it with 2 other books from that same series. But I haven't taken the picture. I've read the book, but I haven't taken the picture. I think I'm just going to return the book to the library and take the picture with the 2 books from that series that I actually own. And this is The Very Thought of You by Lynn Kurland. And this is the second book in the MacLeod de Piaget series, and I read the first book, which I own, A Dance Through Time, and the, I think, 12th book, and I can't even remember what that one was called. And this was The Very Thought of You. It was an enjoyable book in which a dude from the modern era goes back, well, modern era, 1990s is when this was published. It goes back to medieval times, and it's good. I liked it. So, The Very Thought of You, time travel or not, it's the only historical romance that I have that's going back to the library at this time. And let's see, I'm going to do the rest of the contemporary romances first, and then I'll get into the stuff that is not romance at all toward the end of the video, because I know a lot of people who watch my stuff are mostly interested in romances. So that'll give them a chance to duck out for the stuff that they're not as interested in. So we have some DNFs. Mile High by Liz Tomforty. It is the first book in, I think, the Windy City series is the name of the book as a whole. It's sports romance, it's hockey. He is a professional hockey player, and she is the flight attendant on the plane that the team charters to schlep the athletes around. I DNF'd it at about 8% because the Xanders with an S, the male main character, I did not like him at all. So I know a lot of people like it, but wasn't for me. Here's another DNF, and that is Older by Jennifer Hartman. I have read when I picked this book up at the library, I had already read Still Beating by her and Lotus by her. And then this is her newest. It just came out a few weeks ago, the last couple of months or so. And I started to read it, and I knew it was age gap, and I knew it was best friend's father. However, I didn't realize that the age gap was that when they first meet, she's 17 and he is 34. And then they meet a few months later, she's turned 18 and he is almost but not quite 35. And that was just the nature, and she's still in high school as well. And it was just kind of the nature of the age gap, and the dynamic wasn't for me. Now, she has had a rough life, so she is in many ways older than a lot of people her age, but in many ways she's not. And it just made me uncomfortable. So I'm sure Jennifer Hartman is usually a very angsty good time. Angsty. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, then you probably would like this. But again, it just wasn't for me. However, I was interested in rereading Lotus, so I did. And again, that's a good one. I like it. And then I found out that the library had one by her that I was not familiar with and had never heard of. It is called The Wrong Heart. Now, Lotus is about a man who was abducted as a child and was raised in a basement, isolated from everybody but the one man who was keeping him in the basement, who told him, Oliver is the character's name, who told Oliver that there had been a nuclear war outside and there were very few survivors and it wasn't safe to leave the basement. And so about 21, 22 years later, Oliver does leave the basement and finds out that that was all lies. The world has been going on without him. And he ends up returning to his childhood home where his stepbrother still lives, and the girl next door, his best friend from when he was a little kid, he was kidnapped when he was like 6, still lives in the house next door, only now she's in her 20s, she's an adult. So, it's about his kind of getting back into society and how the people react to his return, and romance does ensue. And then this one, The Wrong Heart, is about a woman who's very happily married and her husband dies suddenly. This happens in the first, less than 5% of the book. And he dies en route to the hospital, but they manage to keep it, or I think he might actually not die until after they get to the hospital. He's an organ donor. And there happens to be somebody in the area who, well, actually, you don't necessarily know. But anyway, there's somebody who gets his heart that same night. And she is struggling and grieving, and she manages to finagle the contact information for the recipient, and she gets in touch with him. And it's very much about grief and depression and moving on. It's got very hardcore subjects like that. So if you are prone to depressive thoughts, maybe this isn't the book for you. I found it to be really interesting to read. I enjoy the reading experience. It's not like, it's a very heavy book, and I enjoyed reading it. I think I've equivocated enough. Okay, one more romance, and that is by Kimberly Lemming. And it is, I got abducted by aliens and now I'm trapped in a rom-com. And I really enjoyed this. I read the warnings. I didn't seek out more specific warnings. She does have a content note at the beginning. I would suggest you look that up before you decide whether or not you want to read it. However, I didn't realize it was Why Choose, because on the front you have the human lady, Dory, who is abducted by aliens. The aliens she ends up with are not the same species that abducted her. Anyway, so she ends up in a Why Choose situation, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a dinosaur and a talking lion. It's a very loose Wizard of Oz retelling. So, but if you assume that the Tin Woodsman and the Scarecrow were running a train on Dorothy. I liked it. It's a lot of fun. However, I do sometimes find these adventure romances to be a little stressful, but it moves along. It's not even 300 pages long. But I would look up some of the trigger warnings just to make sure it's for you before you proceed. But I had a really good time with it. Looking forward to more from that series, because I think there are going to be more set in that same milieu. Okay, and then moving away from romance, I have 3 books to talk about. And in the same comedy, fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, this is definitely sci-fi. This is more fantasy. It's comedy, and it is kind of a romance. It's not necessarily the main focus of the book, but there is a romance plot going on, and that is Sword Art by T. Kingfisher. It's about a woman who is being imprisoned by her family, and they want her to marry her cousin. She does not want to marry her cousin. He's her cousin by marriage. They're not related, but he's a jerk. His mother is terrible. She doesn't want to marry him. And in desperation, she's locked in her bedroom, and she pulls a sword off the wall. She unsheathes it, and this guy appears. And it turns out that he is tied to the sword. And whoever owns the sword, when they pull the sword out, he appears. And when they sheath the sword, draw the sword, that's the word I'm looking for. When you draw the sword, when she draws the sword, he appears. And when she sheaths the sword, he disappears. And he goes into this kind of sort of no man's land. And anyway, so they're trying to figure out what's going on. How can she protect herself from her horrible in-laws? And yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed reading it. Also in the science fiction realm is The Way Up is Death by Dan Hanks. This is about a structure that appears hovering in the air over the British countryside, and 13 people, all from the UK, are suddenly vanish from their own lives, and they find themselves in this structure, and they have to go up the structure. And it's kind of like a video game in the levels that they have to go through, and each one has some sort of meaning for the people who are for one of the 13 people in the group. And like for one person, they it's a video game. For another person, it's a movie, and that kind of thing. It was okay. It wasn't like my favorite thing I've ever read, but it was not an unpleasant way to spend an afternoon. Okay, and one more, and this is a thriller called Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This was making the rounds on BookTube, Book Talk, Instagram a couple of years ago, and I finally got my hands on a library copy, obviously, since this is Library Returns, and it is about a woman who is overcoming drug addiction. And she gets a job as a nanny for a 5-year-old boy, and in an affluent suburb of Philadelphia. And she bonds with him pretty much instantly. And one of the things she likes is that he draws these pictures like, oh, it's a cute goat. Oh, it's a tree and some birds in a bird bath. And, oh no! Okay, so she's like, what is going on? So he's drawing these kinds of disturbing images, and he is also, as she gets to know him better and he draws more pictures, he's drawing pictures that are so sophisticated that it's like, no 5-year-old is capable of that level of art. See if I can find an example that's not too spoilery. Okay. Like, 5-year-olds do not typically draw like that. So she's trying to figure out what's going on, and it's good. I liked it. So those are the books I'm taking back to the library. I have a book on the hold shelf, which is King of Envy by Anna Wong. I think that's the most recent one. And yeah. So that was me trying to get back into the swing of things, doing my book Unhaul, because they're going back to the library video. And thank you for watching. If you want, you can like, share, comment, subscribe, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. And I hope you have a good day or night.